We all know those people that will only watch a movie if it is in English or at least dubbed, but those people are missing out on so many great foreign movies that I guarantee they would like if they just gave them a chance. And this video is going to be looking at a few of them. This list is going to be 10 awesome Asian horror and thriller movies that fans of the genre need to watch ASAP if they haven't done so already. Yeah, you may have to watch with the English subtitles on, or if you can find a good dubbed version, but I promise you, you will be glad you did after watching. I obviously don't want to ruin any of the movies for you, so there will be no spoilers in this video. I will put the timestamps for every movie in the description below, along with the streaming services each movie is offered on if available. With that being said, here we go. Number 10. Train to Busan, 2016. Train to Busan might be one of the most popular Korean horror films out there, because it is one of the best zombie movies of all time in my opinion. The central character is Suk-woo, a man stressed out with problems about his investments business and his divorce he is currently going through. His 9-year-old daughter Suwon, feeling neglected, requests her father to take her to Busan the next day to see her estranged mother for her birthday. Suk-woo cannot say no to his daughter on her birthday of all days. So they catch a train to Busan as Suk-woo and Suwon, a lady passenger with a bite wound on her leg, collapses and turns into a zombie right before everyone's eyes. As she bites another person, that next person would also turn into a zombie, and so on. We know how zombies work at this point, right? Panic ensues on the train, and everyone eventually discovers along the way that the same zombie frenzy was true for the rest of the country, and it's not just their train they have to survive. The fight to survive is now on for everyone. The movie is a roller coaster, start to finish, and the zombies are relentless for the taste of flesh, which is what we all want to see in our zombie movies, right? Number 9. The Wailing, 2016. The Wailing, also known as Gokseom, is a South Korean possession horror movie, and that already alone counts well in its favor for the movie, as South Korea has a long and most impressive track record for making horror movies. The movie runs a bit over 2.5 hours, but it actually manages to remain interesting and captivating throughout the course of the time frame. The story is about a strange disease that spreads in a small rural settlement in South Korea. The disease causes rashes and blisters and eventually drives the infected to kill those he or she loves in a blind rage. A local policeman becomes involved in the case and finds himself deep in a very strange mystery, which involves supernatural elements and is a race against time to find the culprit and the source of this bizarre sickness. Things really start to pick up whenever the police officer's daughter comes down with the disease, and he will do anything he has to make her better and remove the evil from her. All in all, this movie skillfully illustrates the horrors of war within yourself and the helplessness and darkness that can live within anyone. Number 8. I Saw the Devil, 2010. I'm a huge fan of recent South Korean cinema, so needless to say I jumped at the chance to see I Saw the Devil, the film everyone was talking about at the time as I was graduating high school. Surprise, surprise, it turned out to be every bit the fantastic thriller that everyone said it was, and also one of the most explicit films I've ever seen in its depictions of sex and violence. Definitely not a film to watch with your grandma though. Just saying. Byung-hun Lee is a well-cast as a government agent who finds himself on the trail of a supremely sadistic serial killer when his pregnant wife is sadly murdered. Said killer, Kyung-choo, is played by Old Boy's Min-sik Choi, and is one of the most disturbing killers I've ever witnessed on screen. This guy is the embodiment of evil, an utterly heartless, cold, and calculating pervert who thinks nothing of assaulting women and murdering on a whim. What follows redefines the cat and mouse thriller genre, with the good guy on the bad guy's tail and morality shifting and blurring as both are drawn into a deadly game from which nobody can come unscathed. It goes without saying that the writing and direction are flawless. Graphic scenes of torture and various other unpleasantness litter the film like roadkill until the powerful, inevitable climax, yet somehow the violence never feels too gratuitous. Number 7. Ringu, 1998. If you are a true horror fan, you have seen the 2002 horror movie The Ring. You know, the movie with the creepy girl that calls and tells you you're going to die in 7 days after watching a videotape and she enters the room through the TV screen? Yeah, that one. Well, The Ring was actually based off the 1998 Japanese film Ringu, and that is the movie we have here. The plot is as follows. After the death of her cousin Tomoko, the reporter Rico hears stories on a videotape that kills everyone who watches it exactly 1 week after viewing. At first she downplays the rumors, but when she learns that Tomoko's friend, who watched the video with her, died at exactly the same time, she begins to investigate further. After viewing the tape herself, of course strange things start happening, and so she teams up with her ex-husband to try to stop the death clock that has once again begun ticking and could be her last week to live. The movie was such an original idea at the time and pretty much started the Japanese horror craze that would follow for the next quarter century, and of course, us Americans had to cash in on it too. Number 6. Satan's Slaves, 2017. Some people claim that Hereditary was almost a ripoff of this Indonesian film, but like most ideas these days, it's very rarely the original idea, as Satan's Slaves was based off an 80s movie itself, Rosemary's Baby. People love to grab others' ideas and tweak them a little bit and see if they can pass it off as their own. In this film, the family of Rini is financially broken and she lives with her father, her mother that is ill, her grandmother that is crippled, and her brothers Tony, Bondi, and the mute 6-year-old Ian in an old house in the countryside nearby a cemetery. Her mother, who was once a successful singer, is dying from a mysterious disease and her father does not have the money to support the family. When her mother dies, her father needs to travel to the city to sell the house, and weird things start happening in the house. The skeptical Rini befriends Hendra, son of the religious Eustace, and they learn that their mother was infertile and joined a cult that worships Satan to have children. And now, when Ian will be 7, they will take the boy with them, and they have no idea what they can do to protect their little brother. They better think of something, or that boy gone, and he ain't coming back. Number 5. The Call, 2020. This movie isn't really a horror movie, but it does classify as a thriller, so I say let it be on the list. Mainly because I was a huge fan of this movie when it first appeared on Netflix in 2020. A lot of people have soured on it because they don't like the ending, and that's going to happen, but I'm not going to let the ending decide how much I like the film or not. The first 90 minutes had me glued to my screen, so I'm not going to let the last 5 ruin the whole experience, even if I would have done a few things differently. The movie is basically about two 28-year-old girls that are separated by 20 years in 2019 and 1999 who can somehow talk on the phone to each other when they are in the same house. The girl in 2019 wants to use their special phone ability to potentially save her dad, who actually died in 1999 after being murdered. So she asked the girl in 1999 to go save him from dying and hoping he'll turn back up in 2019, 100% alive. Of course, things aren't that easy, and major dilemmas will arise, mainly being the butterfly effect and not knowing the whole story until the ending twist is revealed. Number 4. Parasite, 2019. I'm sure you have heard of this movie at some point, and probably already have seen it. I mean, it did win an Oscar for Best Motion Picture, which is like the most prestigious award in cinema. The film follows a lower-class South Korean family as they slowly integrate themselves into the lives of an upper-class family in their lavish household by each seeking different forms of employment or tutoring within the family. As their entanglement is spun out of a web of deceit, the con artist family find themselves skating on thin ice when it comes to keeping up appearances. It's a twisty satire on social economic disparities in South Korean society that swings broadly in tone and sometimes threatens to tip over the edge, but never feels less than meticulously calculated in its tonal shifts. However, to reveal anything more about the story would be to take away from the overall experience, as each act is marked by a major plot twist or revelation that keeps the film one step ahead of the viewer at all times. Go in blind if you can and expect an unforgettable ride. Number 3. Forgotten, 2017. Jin Suk, a 21-year-old man, moves to a new house with his mother, father, and older brother, Yoo Suk. Things seem off to Jin Suk in the new home almost immediately. One rainy night, he witnesses his brother, Yoo Suk, being kidnapped and dragged into a car. After 19 days of being gone, Yoo Suk suddenly returns home, but he doesn't remember anything from his disappearance. Jin Suk, on the other hand, starts noticing some changes about his older brother and is starting to think he is not the same man that he knew before. I don't want to give too much away about this one because if you haven't seen it, you want to go into this one as blind as possible, and the twist will hit you that much harder. At least they did for me. There are numerous twists throughout this one that will keep you guessing the whole time. What is about to come next, and it definitely isn't predictable, I will say that. Seriously, if you are a fan of Korean horror, you gotta give this one a watch, and it's on Netflix right now waiting for you to go watch it. Number 2. A Tale of Two Sisters, 2003. This movie is one of my favorite Korean films of all time, and it was so popular that it had its own American remake done in 2009 called The Uninvited, which wasn't a bad movie by any means, but it definitely doesn't hold a candle to the original. This movie is about a set of sisters who end up in a mental institution after their mother passes away, and they couldn't handle the grief and tried ending their time on this thing we called Earth. Well, after being in for a few years, they are finally allowed to come back home to their father, who is now remarried to a woman that doesn't really get along with the two girls. They seem standoffish with each other, and the sisters even start thinking that their new stepmother was the one that was actually responsible for their mother's death a few years prior. Seems like a pretty straightforward thriller, but then supernatural happenings start beginning, and we see there is more at play here than a just by the book stepfather-like horror movie. The tension between the three female characters will only grow throughout the movie, and when enough is enough, the father has to turn to outside help to figure out his family, or all hell will eventually break loose. Number 1. The Host, 2006. We had to have at least one creature feature monster flick on this list, right? The Host is by far one of the best monster movies in years. The movie follows a bumbling young father, Gangdu Park, and his family. The story starts out like every other monster movie. Everything is calm and uneventful, business as usual, you might say, when a mutated fish creature comes along the riverbank and begins killing anyone in its path. Amidst all of the confusion, Gangdu's daughter, Hyung-soo, is picked up by the monster and dragged back to the sewer. The story then turns into a search for Hyung-soo. Gangdu and his family evade the authorities and the military and use all the money they have to desperately continue their quest, as they are convinced she is still alive and they want to save her. A really decent monster flick that you should check out if you are a fan of creature features or huge water monsters. And that is it for this list, friends. Any other great Asian thriller movies to check out? Love to hear them in the comments below. Thanks for watching.